Speaking to U.S. media in the White House earlier, President Trump doubled down on his aspiration to make the Strait of Hormuz an American territory.
We control it. We control it with the blockade. We have a blockade. We control it with the blockade. And I like the idea of declaring it a territory.
Why would you do that?
We have total control over the strait. Now, they can be a nuisance. They can put a mine in the water, and people don't like having mines hit their billion-dollar ships, et cetera. But the blockade has been very effective. And, we're taking out, now maybe that will stop, or maybe it'll open up even further, but we're taking out millions of barrels of oil a week. If you look at the kind of numbers that we're doing, the strait is open.
Brian Clark is a senior fellow and director of the Center for Defense Concepts and Technology at the Hudson Institute, and he joins us live from Washington, D.C. Thank you so much for joining us, Brian. Give us a sense, if Donald Trump says that Iran should raise the flag of surrender, isn't that really not really giving much room? Is it just another example of the two sides talking past one another?
Yeah, Rashad, it's a maximalist demand on the part of the U.S. When both sides are essentially making maximalist demands on each other. The Iranians have said that they want to maximize their control over the Strait of Hormuz and charge tolls, and maybe even use that as leverage in their future negotiations with the U.S. on the nuclear program. And the U.S. wants the Iranians to simply surrender. So they're not really negotiating at this point. They're simply making assertions and then hoping that the other side backs down.
Well, does the ending of the Memorandum of Understanding 60-day consultation period mean anything at all to either side now?
Not really. I mean, I think the Iranians viewed the MOU as pretty favorable to their side, and they were in their mind, their control over the Strait of Hormuz was established by the MOU, and the U.S. of course interpreted it differently. But I think both sides now view it as a dead letter, and have now moved on to just asserting each other's control over the strait and hoping that the other side will blink before they get to a point where it's unsalvageable.
Yeah, and is diplomacy dead right now, Brian? I mean, maybe it is. And Jared Kushner, just a few hours ago, said that conversations between the U.S. and different areas of the Iranian government were probably more robust than ever, but the two sides hadn't yet reached an understanding. What do you make of that, and who are they talking to?
Yeah, well, I mean, the Iranian government, like any government, has a lot of different communities and factions and stakeholders. And I imagine the U.S. has interlocutors that are in touch with people in parliament, people in the foreign ministry, as well as people in the IRGC. And the IRGC is somewhat ascendant right now, so they tend to be making the calls. But I think the U.S. has had the least progress, or had least traction communicating with the IRGC.
Well, tell me, I mean, in this whole sort of chess game almost here, does really Donald Trump have any good options left for himself?
Not really. What the U.S. is hoping is that this blockade that they've been mounting against the Iranians is going to cause enough economic pressure on the government that it will yield and seek some kind of negotiated settlement with the United States. And the problem is, obviously, the regime is pretty firm in its demands. Also, it has other sources to receive inputs and outputs via land borders or the Caspian Sea. So it's really been able to sustain the kind of minimal services to the population, despite not having the ability to export oil or import food or other goods.
No, I mean, no real campaign has no war's really been won purely through air power.
Right.
Is the next step, and it's not a good option, I'm sure, a move for ground troops?
I think that would be, if you were looking at only military solutions here, then yes, the U.S. really, its only option would be to either open the strait and use force to basically protect shipping going through the strait. So they'd have to assert control over the strait, as the president just said, and they'd have to protect that with naval forces and air forces, which would put a lot of ships and aircraft at risk. And we've not really done that yet. They really haven't used ships to defend shipping going through the Strait of Hormuz, which, as we saw in the tanker war back in the 80s, can result in ships getting attacked, either with mines or missiles. So that would be a likely outcome, and they don't want to put those forces at risk. I think another step beyond that would be ground forces. But I think before the ground forces, the U.S. might try to do some, at least limited, escorting of ships in an attempt to show the Iranians that they don't really have control over the Strait of Hormuz.
Brian, last question very quickly. I mean, what is your gut feeling as how this actually resolves?
I think the resolution is going to end up having the Iranians and the Omanis controlling the strait with some kind of fee arrangement. And the U.S. is going to have some kind of fig leaf that allows them to at least argue that they've resolved it in a way that's not damaging to U.S. interests. So it'll require the Iranians to come across with some kind of at least perceived compromise that the U.S. can take home with them.
Brian, thank you so much. Brian Clark, the director of the Center for Defense Concepts and Technology at the Hudson Institute. Thanks.